Very few things reach the level of longevity and influence that Dragon Ball has achieved over the years. From humble manga beginnings to a multimedia empire spanning decades, Akira Toriyama's creation has captured hearts and minds across the globe. Tonight, we're diving deep into over 150 fascinating facts about this incredible universe, from its mystical origins to its modern-day impact. Whether you're a longtime fan or simply curious about this cultural phenomenon, settle in for a peaceful journey through legendary battles, powerful transformations, and the stories that shaped generations. Get comfortable and prepare for a gentle exploration of one of anime's most beloved series. The story of Dragon Ball begins not with a Saiyan warrior or mystical orbs, but with a young artist named Akira Toriyama, working at an advertising agency in the 1970s, before he became one of the most influential manga creators in history. Toriyama spent 3 years designing posters and learning the fundamentals of visual storytelling. His experience in advertising would later prove invaluable, teaching him how to create instantly recognizable character designs and memorable visual hooks that could capture attention in seconds. After growing restless with commercial work, Toriyama quit his stable job to pursue his dream of creating manga, a decision that would eventually reshape the entertainment landscape. Toriyama's first major success came with Dr. Slump, a gag manga about a perverted inventor and his supernaturally strong android daughter named Arale, published in Weekly Shonen Jump. From 1980 to 1984, Dr. Slump established Toriyama's reputation for combining humor with action and his knack for creating lovable characters with incredible abilities. The series became a massive hit in Japan, selling millions of copies and spawning an anime adaptation that dominated television ratings. More importantly, Dr. Slump proved that Toriyama could sustain a long-running series while maintaining quality and reader interest. The success of Dr. Slump gave him the credibility and creative freedom to pitch his next ambitious project to Shonen Jump's editors. The genesis of Dragon Ball can be traced directly to Toriyama's childhood fascination with Journey to the West, the classic Chinese novel about the Monkey King's adventures. As a young reader, Toriyama was captivated by Sun Wukong's mischievous personality, incredible strength, and magical abilities, including flight and transformation. The original concept for Dragon Ball was much more faithful to its source material, with Goku explicitly portrayed as a monkey-like character living alone in the wilderness. Toriyama originally planned for the series to be a relatively short adventure story following this monkey boy as he helped a girl search for magical orbs. The editor at Shonen Jump, Kazuhiko Torishima, encouraged Toriyama to expand the concept and focus more on martial arts and fighting tournaments, suggestions that would fundamentally shape the series' direction. Torishima's influence on Dragon Ball cannot be overstated. As Toriyama's editor during the early years, Torishima pushed for changes that transformed Dragon Ball from a simple adventure story into a martial arts epic. He suggested adding the World Martial Arts Tournament, which became one of the series' most enduring elements. Torishima also encouraged Toriyama to gradually shift away from the journey to the West elements as the story progressed, allowing Dragon Ball to develop its own unique identity. Perhaps most significantly, Torishima convinced Toriyama to continue the series beyond its original planned ending, leading to the creation of Dragon Ball Z and the introduction of Saiyans, which completely revolutionized the franchise's scope and mythology. The visual design philosophy behind Dragon Ball emerged from Toriyama's unique artistic background and his desire to create characters that were instantly recognizable even in silhouette. His character designs featured bold, simple shapes with distinctive hairstyles and clothing that could be easily identified from a distance. Toriyama deliberately avoided overly complex designs, understanding that manga artists need to draw the same characters hundreds of times. This practical approach led to some of the most iconic character designs in anime and manga history. Goku's spiky hair, for instance, was designed to be drawn quickly while remaining visually striking. Toriyama has admitted that he often chose character colors based on what markers he had available at the time, a humble origin for designs that would eventually become globally recognized symbols. The creation process for Dragon Ball was notably spontaneous, with Toriyama famously admitting that he rarely planned more than a chapter or two ahead. This improvisational approach led to some of the series' most beloved elements being created on the spot. The concept of Super Saiyan transformations, for example, wasn't planned from the beginning, but emerged organically as Toriyama looked for ways to make his characters more powerful and visually interesting. The golden hair of Super Saiyans was actually chosen for a practical reason, as it allowed Toriyama's assistants to save time by not having to fill in black hair with ink. This practical decision became one of the most iconic visual elements in all of anime and manga. Toriyama's forgetfulness became legendary among fans, and even caused problems within the series itself. He frequently forgot minor characters, plot points, and even character abilities, leading to inconsistencies that fans love to discuss. Launch, a character with a split personality who was prominent in early Dragon Ball, largely disappeared from Dragon Ball Z simply because Toriyama forgot she existed. He's also admitted to forgetting that characters like Android 17 and 18 were supposed to be the main villains of their arc, which led to the creation of Cell when his editor complained about their designs. This spontaneous, creative process, while sometimes problematic, also led to unexpected story developments that kept the series fresh and unpredictable. The international journey of Dragon Ball began in the late 1980s, when various companies started acquiring licensing rights for different regions. However, the path to global success was far from smooth. Early attempts at Western adaptation, such as the heavily edited Dragon Power release for Nintendo in 1988, were commercial failures that barely resembled the original material. The breakthrough came when Funimation acquired the rights to Dragon Ball Z in the mid-1990s and created an English dub that, while taking significant liberties with the source material, captured the essential spirit of the series. The success of Dragon Ball Z on Cartoon Network's Toonami programming block in the late 1990s introduced an entire generation of Western viewers to anime and manga culture. The impact of Dragon Ball on the manga and anime industry extends far beyond its own success. The series established many conventions that became standard in shonen manga, including power level progression, tournament arcs, and the concept of characters achieving new transformation states during intense battles. Countless manga creators have cited Dragon Ball as a primary influence, including Eiichiro Oda of One Piece, Masashi Kishimoto of Naruto, and Tite Kubo of Bleach. The financial success of Dragon Ball also proved that manga and anime could be profitable international properties, paving the way for the global anime boom of the 2000s and beyond. Toriyama's working relationship with Weekly Shonen Jump was both collaborative and sometimes contentious. The magazine's editorial staff frequently pushed for changes to maintain reader interest and commercial viability. When reader polls showed declining interest in certain story arcs, editors would suggest new directions or the introduction of new characters. This collaborative process, while sometimes frustrating for Toriyama, helped Dragon Ball maintain its popularity over its 11-year run. The pressure to constantly top previous battles and transformations led to the escalating power levels and increasingly cosmic scope that became hallmarks of the series. The editorial influence also explains why Dragon Ball continued long past Toriyama's original vision, eventually spanning multiple series and decades of publication. The technical aspects of creating Dragon Ball were revolutionary for their time. Toriyama was one of the first manga artists to extensively use screen tones and special effects to create dynamic action sequences. His panel layouts and page compositions influenced an entire generation of artists, with his techniques for depicting movement and impact becoming standard practice in action manga. The way Toriyama drew speed lines, explosion effects, and energy blasts became the visual language that readers associate with manga combat. His attention to mechanical details, evident in his vehicle and robot designs, reflected his lifelong passion for machinery and engineering, adding an extra layer of authenticity to the fictional technology in Dragon Ball. The cultural significance of Dragon Ball in Japan cannot be understated. The series became a shared cultural touchstone that transcended age groups and social boundaries. When major story developments occurred, they would become topics of national conversation, with episode broadcasts affecting television ratings across all networks. The phrase, "It's over 9,000, became part of popular culture, not just in English-speaking countries, but around the world. Dragon Ball helped establish anime and manga as legitimate forms of entertainment for adults, not just children, contributing to their acceptance as serious art forms worthy of academic study and cultural analysis. Long before Goku threw his first punch or the Dragon Balls granted their first wish, the universe of Dragon Ball was shaped by cosmic forces and divine beings whose actions would echo through millions of years of history. The complete Dragon Ball mythology begins at the very dawn of creation itself, in a time so ancient that mortal civilizations had not yet dreamed of existing. In the primordial darkness before stars were born, a mysterious entity known only as Zalama brought forth the Super Dragon Balls, 7 massive orbs, each the size of a planet, that would become the template for every other set of Dragon Balls that would ever exist. These original spheres were scattered across the twin universes of 6 and 7, their power so immense that they could grant any wish without limitation, even bringing back entire universes from complete annihilation. The creation of the Super Dragon Balls marked the beginning of the divine calendar, with year 41 becoming the foundational moment from which all cosmic time would be measured. Zalama's motivations for creating these ultimate wish-granting artifacts remain shrouded in mystery, but their existence established the fundamental principle that would define the Dragon Ball universe: the power of wishes, dreams, and hope made manifest through mystical orbs would become the driving force behind countless adventures and the salvation of entire realities. The year following their creation, Zalama would patent the unique star patterns visible within each Dragon Ball, ensuring that these symbols could be recognized from any angle and would become the universal sign of wish-granting power across all of creation. The cosmic hierarchy that governs the Dragon Ball multiverse is both complex and elegant, reflecting a carefully balanced system of creation and destruction that maintains universal order. At the apex of this divine structure sits Zeno, the Omni-King whose childlike appearance belies his absolute authority over all 12 universes. Zeno's power is so complete that he can erase entire realities with a simple gesture, a fact that even the mightiest gods treat with appropriate reverence and fear. Below Zeno, in the cosmic order, are the angels, led by the Grand Priest, whose strength surpasses even the gods of destruction. They serve as attendants and teachers. These angels exist in a state of perfect neutrality, continuing their duties regardless of what happens to their assigned universe, embodying the cold efficiency of cosmic law. The gods of destruction occupy a unique position in this hierarchy, tasked with eliminating planets, species, and even entire solar systems to maintain universal balance. Each god of destruction is paired with a supreme Kai, their life forces linked so intimately that the death of one results in the death of the other. This symbiotic relationship ensures that creation and destruction remain in perfect harmony, preventing either force from overwhelming the universe. The current god of destruction for Universe 7, Beerus, has held his position for millions of years, his long periods of hibernation punctuated by brief but intense periods of activity where he fulfills his cosmic duties with devastating efficiency. 100 million years before what scholars call the First Age, the foundations of the universe as mortals know it were already being established. During this incomprehensibly ancient period, King Kai's planet came into existence, a small world that would eventually become the training ground for deceased warriors deemed worthy of keeping their bodies in the afterlife. The planet's unusual properties, including its intense gravity that would later prove invaluable for training Saiyan warriors, were carefully designed to serve this specific purpose. The creation of these specialized worlds throughout the universe demonstrates the careful planning that went into establishing the cosmic order, with every element serving multiple purposes in the grand design of existence. 75 million years before the First Age, a significant event occurred that would have ramifications lasting until the modern era. The 15th generation Supreme Kai, who would later be known as Old Kai, was sealed inside the legendary Z-Sword following an argument with Beerus during one of their Millennium meetings. This seemingly minor dispute between cosmic entities resulted in Old Kai being trapped for millions of years, his vast knowledge and power locked away when they would be desperately needed. The exact nature of their disagreement has been lost to time, described only as some trifling matter, yet it demonstrates how even petty conflicts among gods can have universe-spanning consequences that affect countless generations of mortals. During this same ancient period, the first Supreme Kai of time was chosen through conflict rather than peaceful succession. Cronoa and Mechikabura battled for the position that would grant dominion over all timelines and temporal mechanics throughout the multiverse. Cronoa's victory resulted in Mechikabura being banished to the crack of time, a void between realities where he would remain imprisoned for eons. This battle established the precedent that time itself could be controlled and manipulated, setting up the temporal mechanics that would later allow for time travel and the creation of alternate timelines that would play crucial roles in Dragon Ball's most complex storylines. 10 million years before the First Age, the evil sorcerer Moro began his reign of terror across Universe 7, consuming the life energy of entire planets in his insatiable hunger for power. Moro's abilities were so dangerous that even the cosmic order took notice, with the Grand Supreme Kai himself intervening to stop the threat. Using his divine powers, the Grand Supreme Kai was able to steal away most of Moro's magical abilities and seal them within himself, drastically weakening the ancient villain. The Galactic Patrol, one of the few mortal institutions powerful enough to contend with cosmic-level threats, was then able to capture Moro and subject him to repeated execution attempts, all of which failed due to his supernatural resilience. This early encounter with Moro established the pattern of ancient evils being sealed rather than destroyed, a recurring theme that would see many threats return after millions of years of dormancy. 5 million years before the First Age, the universe faced one of its greatest existential crises with the awakening of Majin Buu, a primordial force of destruction that existed in a state of pure malevolence. The evil wizard Bibidi discovered this ancient being and attempted to control him with limited success given Buu's chaotic nature. Together, they embarked on a campaign of universal destruction that claimed entire galaxies, with Buu's power being so immense that conventional weapons and even most magical attacks proved utterly ineffective. The rampage only ended when Buu absorbed the Grand Supreme Kai and the portly South Supreme Kai, their benevolent natures, fundamentally altering his personality and transforming him from pure evil into the more childlike, but still dangerous, innocent Buu. The absorption of the Supreme Kais represented a turning point in universal history, as it fundamentally changed the nature of one of the most dangerous beings in existence, while simultaneously weakening the cosmic hierarchy responsible for maintaining universal order. The Grand Supreme Kai's sacrifice prevented the complete destruction of Universe 7, but at the cost of leaving the remaining Supreme Kai, Shin, to handle responsibilities that were originally distributed among 5 powerful deities. This event also demonstrated the complex moral ambiguity that runs throughout Dragon Ball's mythology, where even acts of apparent evil can result in outcomes that serve the greater good, albeit through tremendous sacrifice and loss. Bibidi's decision to seal the transformed Buu on Earth was both calculated and prophetic, as he recognized that the planet held some special significance in the cosmic order. Earth's unique properties, including its diverse population and the strange tendency for its inhabitants to achieve power levels far beyond what should be possible for their species, made it an ideal hiding place for such a powerful being. The East Supreme Kai's decision to kill Bibidi to prevent Buu's reawakening seemed like a permanent solution at the time, but the wizard had already transferred his consciousness to his son Babidi, ensuring that the threat would eventually return when the time was right. The ancient history of the Saiyan race begins with the original planet, Sadala, a world that existed in Universe 7 long before the events of the main series. This original Saiyan homeworld was destroyed not by external enemies, but by internal conflict, as the good-hearted Saiyans, led by the legendary warrior Yamushi, fought against their evil counterparts who sought to spread destruction throughout the universe. Yamoshi's transformation into the first Super Saiyan God was both the pinnacle of Saiyan evolution and the beginning of their ultimate downfall, as his power proved insufficient to defeat all the evil Saiyans before his transformation wore off. In his final moments, Yamoshi's desperation and rage transformed him into the legendary Super Saiyan, a berserker state so powerful and uncontrollable that it resulted in the complete destruction of planet Sadala and the near extinction of the Saiyan race. The survivors of Sadala's destruction were forced to scatter across the universe, eventually settling on planet Plant, where they would come into conflict with the native Tuffle population. This migration was not random, but seemed guided by some cosmic force that recognized the Saiyans' potential role in future universal crises. The few remaining Saiyans carried with them not just their warrior culture, but also the genetic memory of their lost homeworld and the legendary transformations that had both saved and doomed their people. The legend of the Super Saiyan God was passed down through generations as both inspiration and warning, a reminder of the incredible heights their race could achieve and the terrible consequences of unchecked power. Planet Plant became the stage for one of the most significant conflicts in galactic history, as the warrior Saiyans and the technologically advanced Tuffles engaged in a decade-long war that would reshape both species. The Saiyans initially settled in the wastelands of plant, whether by choice due to their preference for harsh environments or by force as the Tuffles sought to contain what they saw as a barbaric threat. The war that followed was a study in contrasts, with Tuffle technology and organization pitted against Saiyan strength and battle instinct. The conflict remained stalemated for years until a once-in-a-century full moon allowed the Saiyans to transform into great apes, ending the war in a single night of unprecedented destruction that left the Tuffle civilization in ruins. The aftermath of the Saiyan-Tuffle War contained the seeds of future conflicts that would span generations. The Tuffle King's decision to transfer his consciousness into a parasitic organism created Baby, a being driven by an unquenchable thirst for revenge against all Saiyans. Dr. Raichi's work on the ultimate anti-Saiyan weapon, Hachiak, ensured that even death would not end the Tuffle desire for vengeance. These creations represent the persistent nature of hatred and how the wounds of war can fester across centuries, creating new threats from the ashes of old conflicts. The transformation of Planet Plant into Planet Vegeta marked not just a change in ownership, but the beginning of a new chapter in Saiyan history that would eventually lead them from conquerors to the universe's unlikely saviors. The cosmic timeline of Dragon Ball is punctuated by numerous smaller events that collectively shaped the universe's development over millions of years. Heroes like Majoran and Sarta, forgotten by all but the cosmic record keepers, performed deeds of such valor that they were allowed to keep their bodies after death and train in the afterlife. These ancient warriors established the precedent that exceptional individuals could transcend normal death, creating a pool of potential allies that could be called upon during universal crises. Their stories, while brief footnotes in cosmic history, demonstrate that heroism and sacrifice have always been part of the universe's fabric, long before the Z-Fighters made such concepts famous. The establishment of various cosmic institutions during these ancient times created the infrastructure that would support the universe through countless crises. Princess Snake's castle on Snake Way, built at the exact midpoint of the path between the mortal world and King Kai's planet, was strategically positioned to test the determination of souls seeking to reach the legendary training ground. The Galactic Patrol, one of the few mortal organizations capable of dealing with cosmic-level threats, developed procedures and protocols for handling beings like Moro, whose power exceeded conventional understanding. These institutions represent the universe's attempt to create order and justice on a scale that encompasses multiple galaxies and dimensions. The mystical elements woven throughout Dragon Ball's cosmology reflect a universe where spiritual power is just as important as physical strength. The various afterlife realms, from Hell's bureaucratic punishment system to the training grounds of the Kais, create a complex spiritual ecosystem where death is not an ending, but a transition to new forms of existence. The concept of key energy as a universal life force that can be harnessed and amplified connects all living beings in an invisible web of potential power. This spiritual dimension of the Dragon Ball universe explains how ordinary humans can sometimes achieve godlike abilities through training and determination as they learn to tap into forces that transcend physical limitations. The Dragon Balls themselves represent the materialization of hope and desire into reality, serving as focal points where the universe's spiritual energy can be concentrated and directed toward specific outcomes. Each set of Dragon Balls, from Earth's relatively modest orbs to the planet-sized Super Dragon Balls, operates on the same fundamental principle while reflecting the power and wisdom of their creator. The dragons that emerge from these artifacts, whether Shenron, Porunga, or Super Shenron, are not mere magical constructs, but embodiments of their creator's will and power, capable of reshaping reality according to the wishes of those pure enough of heart to gather the orbs and speak the summoning words. The heart of Dragon Ball lies not in its explosive battles or mystical transformations, but in the intricate web of relationships and character development that has evolved over more than 3 decades of storytelling. At the center of this vast narrative stands Son Goku, a character whose journey from wild child to universe-saving hero represents one of the most comprehensive character arcs in all of fiction. Goku's evolution began with his introduction as an unusual boy living alone in the mountains, possessing incredible strength but lacking basic social skills and knowledge about the world. His tale and appetite marked him as different from ordinary humans, yet his pure heart and innate goodness immediately established him as a character worthy of following through whatever adventures lay ahead. Goku's early development focused on his growth from isolated, innocent to capable warrior, as his travels with Bulma exposed him to civilization and its complexities for the first time. His training under Master Roshi introduced him to martial arts discipline and the concept of self-improvement through dedicated practice, establishing patterns that would define his character throughout the entire series. The discovery of his alien heritage as a Saiyan fundamentally changed Goku's understanding of himself, while simultaneously explaining his incredible abilities and insatiable desire for stronger opponents. This revelation could have led to an identity crisis or rejection of his Earth-raised values, but instead, Goku chose to embrace both aspects of his nature, becoming stronger through the integration of his Saiyan instincts with his human compassion. The transformation of Goku from Dragon Ball's adventure-seeking protagonist to Dragon Ball Z's cosmic defender required subtle but significant changes to his character that reflected his maturation and growing responsibilities. As a husband and father, Goku had to balance his warrior instincts with family obligations, though his single-minded pursuit of strength sometimes put him at odds with Chi-Chi's more practical concerns about their family's future. His relationship with Gohan revealed new depths to his character, as Goku struggled to understand a son whose gentle nature and scholarly interests seemed to conflict with his Saiyan heritage. The realization that Gohan possessed even greater potential than himself forced Goku to confront the possibility that he might not always be the strongest, leading to his decision to pass the torch to the next generation during the Cell Games. Goku's willingness to sacrifice himself to save Earth from Cell's self-destruction demonstrated his evolution from a fighter who sought personal challenges to a protector who would give everything for others. His decision to remain dead after the Cell games, believing that his presence attracted dangerous enemies to Earth, showed a level of self-awareness and selflessness that marked his complete transformation from the innocent boy who once considered fighting a game. When circumstances forced his return during the Majin Buu crisis, Goku had to reconcile his desire for peaceful rest in the afterlife with his responsibility to protect the living, ultimately choosing duty over personal peace in a decision that would define his character for the rest of the series. The character of Vegeta represents perhaps the most dramatic transformation in Dragon Ball's entire cast, evolving from genocidal villain to reluctant ally to devoted family man, without ever losing the core pride and determination that defined his original characterization. Vegeta's introduction as the Prince of all Saiyans established him as everything Goku was not. Aristocratic where Goku was humble, calculating where Goku was instinctive, and driven by pride where Goku was motivated by pure love of fighting. His initial defeat on Earth shattered his worldview and began a character arc that would span decades as Vegeta was forced to confront the possibility that his royal blood and elite training meant nothing in the face of Goku's natural talent and pure heart. Vegeta's time on Namek marked the beginning of his gradual shift from pure antagonist to anti-hero, as circumstances forced him to work alongside former enemies while pursuing his own goals. His horror at witnessing Frieza's casual cruelty toward other Saiyans, including his own father, planted the first seeds of genuine emotion beyond mere pride and rage. The achievement of Super Saiyan transformation represented both vindication of his royal heritage and acknowledgement that he had learned from Goku's example, even if he refused to admit it at the time. His growing relationship with Bulma provided an outlet for emotions he had never allowed himself to express, while fatherhood forced him to consider legacy beyond mere personal achievement. The Majin Vegeta arc represents the culmination of his internal struggle between his desire to reclaim his former ruthlessness and his newfound connections to Earth and its people. His choice to allow Babidi's influence to awaken his dormant evil was motivated not by genuine malice, but by frustration at his perceived weakness, making his eventual self-sacrifice against Majin Buu all the more powerful. The fact that his sacrifice initially failed to destroy Buu could have been seen as the final humiliation of his pride, but instead it marked his complete transformation into a true hero who fights not for personal glory, but for the protection of others. His resurrection and crucial role in Kid Buu's defeat confirmed his redemption while maintaining his essential character traits. The supporting cast of Dragon Ball has grown organically over the decades, with characters introduced in early adventures continuing to play important roles even as new heroes and villains expanded the scope of the story. Krillin's journey from Goku's training partner and rival to his best friend and most trusted ally demonstrates how relationships can deepen and change while maintaining their essential core. His marriage to Android 18, once an enemy who nearly killed him, represents one of the series' most touching examples of how former adversaries can find common ground and genuine affection. Piccolo's transformation from Demon King's reincarnation to Gohan's beloved mentor shows how purpose and relationships can completely redefine someone's nature and goals. Master Roshi's role evolved from active participant in adventures to wise elder whose teachings continued to influence new generations of fighters long after his physical prime had passed. His relationship with his students, particularly Goku and Krillin, demonstrated the lasting bonds formed through shared training and mutual respect. Yamcha's gradual transition from desert bandit to reliable ally, though often overshadowed by stronger fighters, showed how ordinary humans could find their place in a world of increasingly powerful warriors. Tien's dedication to martial arts and his complex relationship with his former master, Crane Hermit, illustrated the difficulty of breaking free from corrupting influences while maintaining one's fighting spirit. The introduction of Future Trunks brought a unique dynamic to the series by presenting a character who knew the main cast as legends from his devastated timeline, but had to interact with them as real people with flaws and limitations. His relationship with Vegeta was particularly complex, as he struggled to reconcile his image of his father as a hero with the reality of Vegeta's proud and sometimes selfish nature. The temporal mechanics of his story allowed for exploration of how relationships might develop differently under changed circumstances, while his eventual return to his own timeline provided closure for both his character arc and the alternate future he represented. The voice acting that brings these characters to life has become inseparable from their identities, with certain performances becoming so iconic that they define how entire generations of fans perceive these beloved figures. Masako Nozawa's portrayal of Goku in Japanese has spanned over 3 decades, her distinctive voice growing and changing with the character, while maintaining the essential innocence and determination that makes Goku who he island. Her decision to also voice Gohan and Goten created an interesting family dynamic, where the genetic connection between characters was reinforced by their shared vocal characteristics, though each character maintained distinct personality traits despite their similar voices. The English voice cast brought their own interpretations to these characters, with Sean Schemmel's Goku emphasizing different aspects of the character's personality than Nozawa's version, while remaining true to the essential spirit of the role. Christopher Sabat's multiple roles, including Vegeta and Piccolo, demonstrated the versatility required in anime voice acting, while creating distinct vocal identities for each character. The evolution of these performances over years of recording sessions allowed the actors to develop deeper understanding of their characters, resulting in more nuanced portrayals as the series progressed. The naming conventions used throughout Dragon Ball reflect Akira Toriyama's playful sense of humor and his systematic approach to character creation. The vegetable-based names of all Saiyans, from Vegeta, vegetable, and Kakarot, carrot, to Raditz, radish, and Nappa, Chinese cabbage, create a thematic unity that helps establish their shared heritage while providing subtle humor for attentive viewers. The Frieza Force's cold theme names, including Frieza, Cooler, King, Cold, and their subordinates like Dodoria, Durian Fruit, and Zarbon, Japanese Citron, demonstrate how naming schemes can reinforce character relationships and organizational structures. The Brief family's underwear-themed names, from Dr. Brief and his wife Panchi to their daughter Bulma Bloomers, reflect their role as comic relief characters, while maintaining the series' tradition of food and clothing puns. The various masters and martial artists often have names reflecting their disciplines or personalities, such as Master Roshi Laoshi, meaning Old Teacher, Crane Hermit, Tsuru Senin, and Turtle Hermit, creating immediate associations between names and roles that help viewers remember large casts of supporting characters. Family structures and generational relationships form one of the most important thematic elements running throughout Dragon Ball, with the series consistently emphasizing how skills, values, and even personality traits pass from parents to children, while allowing for individual growth and development. The Sun family represents the ideal of this generational transfer, with Grandpa Gohan's kindness and martial arts knowledge influencing Goku, who in turn passes these values to his sons Gohan and Goten. Each generation faces different challenges that require them to adapt, inherited wisdom to new circumstances, creating characters who honor their predecessors while forging their own paths. The Vegeta family demonstrates how even difficult personalities can change when given proper motivation and support, with Vegeta's pride and determination manifesting differently in his children, Trunks and Bulla. Trunks inherited his father's strategic mind and fighting instinct, but combined them with his mother's intelligence and his own sense of justice, creating a character who could surpass his father's achievements while avoiding his mistakes. The relationship between present and future versions of Trunks allowed for exploration of how different upbringings and experiences could shape the same basic personality in dramatically different directions. Mentor-student relationships throughout Dragon Ball consistently emphasize the importance of proper guidance in developing not just fighting ability, but moral character. Master Roshi's teachings went far beyond martial arts techniques to include lessons about humility, perseverance, and the responsible use of power. His influence on Goku established patterns of behavior and thinking that would guide the young Saiyan throughout his life, even when facing challenges far beyond anything his first teacher could have imagined. The relationship between Piccolo and Gohan represents perhaps the series' most touching example of how mentorship can transform both teacher and student, with Piccolo discovering his capacity for love and protection, while Gohan learned to balance his gentle nature with necessary strength. King Kai's role as trainer to deceased warriors created a unique dynamic where students had already proven their worth through heroic deaths, allowing him to focus on refining technique and expanding their understanding of cosmic-level threats. His teachings about the Kaioken technique and Spirit Bomb reflected his philosophy that true strength comes from harmony with universal forces rather than raw power alone. Whis' training of Goku and Vegeta in Dragon Ball Super introduced concepts of divine martial arts that transcended traditional fighting techniques, emphasizing mental discipline and spiritual awareness alongside physical conditioning. The theme of death and resurrection that runs throughout Dragon Ball allows for exploration of how relationships can persist and evolve even beyond the boundaries of life itself. Characters who die heroically often continue to influence the story through their example and the memories they leave behind, while those fortunate enough to be wished back with the Dragon Ball's return with new perspectives on life and relationships. Goku's multiple deaths and revivals allowed him to experience different aspects of existence, from the structured afterlife of heroes to the training opportunities available to those who prove themselves worthy of keeping their bodies after death. The concept of fusion, whether through the Potara earrings or the fusion dance, creates temporary beings who combine not just the power, but the personalities and relationships of their components. Vegeta and Gogeta represent the ultimate synthesis of Goku and Vegeta's rivalry, creating characters who possess both warriors' strengths while transcending their individual limitations. These fusion characters demonstrate how the bonds between the original fighters can create something greater than the sum of their parts. Though the temporary nature of most fusions ensures that individual character development remains important, the evolution of relationships across multiple series and decades has allowed Dragon Ball to explore how bonds formed in youth can mature and deepen over time. Childhood friendships between Goku and Krillin developed into adult partnerships based on mutual respect and shared experience, while former enemies like Piccolo and Tien became trusted allies through gradual understanding and common cause. The series consistently reinforces the idea that relationships built on respect, shared values, and mutual support can overcome almost any obstacle, whether it be differences in power, species, or even moral alignment. The power system that governs the Dragon Ball universe operates on principles both mystical and scientific, creating a framework where spiritual energy can be measured, amplified, and transformed into devastating attacks or incredible feats of strength. At the foundation of this system lies Ki, the life force energy that flows through all living beings and connects every creature to the fundamental forces of existence itself. Ki represents more than mere physical power, encompassing the spiritual, mental, and emotional aspects of a being's total existence, which explains how fighters can achieve seemingly impossible power levels through intense training, emotional breakthroughs, or righteous fury. The ability to sense, control, and manipulate Ki separates ordinary individuals from true martial artists, while mastery of advanced Ki techniques can elevate mortals to levels of power that rival the gods themselves. The measurement of power levels through scouters provided an early framework for understanding the relative strength of different fighters, though this system proved inadequate when dealing with the most advanced techniques and transformations. Raditz's power level of 1/500 seemed impressive when first introduced, yet within a few years of story time, power levels had escalated to millions and eventually became meaningless as fighters learned to suppress their energy signatures or achieved transformations that multiplied their base power by factors of 50 or more. The exponential growth in power levels reflected not just the escalating threats faced by Earth's defenders, but also their deepening understanding of key manipulation and the breaking of perceived limitations that had previously constrained their development. The concept of power levels also revealed the arbitrary nature of strength measurements when dealing with fighters who had achieved perfect harmony between their physical, mental, and spiritual aspects. Goku's ability to remain calm and focused during intense battles allowed him to utilize his full power more effectively than opponents who possessed higher raw energy but lacked emotional control. The Saiyan transformations demonstrated how emotional states could dramatically amplify power output, with rage triggering the initial Super Saiyan transformation and subsequent forms requiring different emotional or spiritual catalysts. This connection between emotion and power output established that true strength in the Dragon Ball universe comes not just from training the body, but from understanding and channeling the deepest aspects of one's nature. The hierarchy of Saiyan transformations represents one of the most systematic approaches to power scaling in the series, with each form building upon previous achievements, while requiring progressively greater mastery of both physical and mental discipline. The legendary Super Saiyan transformation, triggered by intense rage or the need to protect others, multiplies a Saiyan's base power by 50 times, while dramatically altering their physical appearance through golden hair and green eyes. This initial transformation established the template for all subsequent Super Saiyan forms, demonstrating how emotional catalysts could unlock genetic potential that had remained dormant for centuries. The physical strain of maintaining Super Saiyan form initially limited its practical applications, requiring extensive training to achieve the relaxed mastery that Goku and Gohan eventually developed. Super Saiyan 2 emerged from Gohan's rage at Cell's cruelty, doubling the power multiplier of the original transformation, while adding electrical aura effects that reflected the increased energy output coursing through the fighter's body. This form required not just greater power reserves, but enhanced physical conditioning to withstand the increased stress, explaining why only the most dedicated fighters could achieve and maintain it. The sparking energy discharge characteristic of Super Saiyan 2 served both aesthetic and practical purposes, with the electrical field disrupting enemy attacks, while providing visual confirmation of the transformation's activation and maintenance. Super Saiyan 3, achieved through Goku's training in the afterlife, where physical limitations were reduced, represented the absolute peak of traditional Saiyan evolution, with a 400-fold power increase over base form. The dramatic physical changes associated with this transformation, including the elongated hair and pronounced brow ridge, reflected the massive energy expenditure required to maintain the form. The severe time limitation and enormous ki drain of Super Saiyan 3 demonstrated that raw power increases eventually reach a point of diminishing returns, where the energy cost becomes prohibitive for extended combat situations. This limitation forced fighters to seek alternative paths to power that emphasized efficiency and sustainability over pure multiplication of base abilities. The introduction of divine transformations through Super Saiyan God and Super Saiyan Blue represented a fundamental shift in the series' approach to power scaling, moving beyond simple multiplication of base power to the incorporation of godly ki that operated on entirely different principles from mortal energy. Super Saiyan God required the ritual participation of 5 pure-hearted Saiyans, emphasizing community and shared purpose over individual achievement, while the lean appearance and calm demeanor of the form contrasted sharply with the bulky, aggressive nature of previous transformation. The divine ki of Super Saiyan God could not be sensed by mortals, creating strategic advantages in battle while representing a new category of power that transcended traditional measurements. Super Saiyan Blue, or Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan, combined the divine nature of godly ki with the explosive power of traditional Super Saiyan transformations, creating a form that could be accessed without ritual requirements while maintaining the benefits of divine energy. The blue hair and aura of this transformation reflected the perfect fusion of mortal and divine power. Though the form's energy consumption remained significant enough to limit its extended use, the development of Super Saiyan Blue marked Goku and Vegeta's graduation from powerful mortals to beings capable of fighting on equal terms with cosmic entities, fundamentally changing their role in universal conflicts. Ultra Instinct represents the pinnacle of martial arts achievement, transcending the traditional Saiyan transformation paradigm to focus on the perfect harmony between conscious thought and unconscious reaction. This technique, which even gods struggle to master, allows the body to react to threats without the delay caused by mental processing, creating a fighting state where offense and defense become instinctive rather than calculated. The silver-haired appearance and ethereal aura of Ultra Instinct reflect its spiritual rather than physical nature, emphasizing technique and awareness over raw power increases. The extreme difficulty of achieving and maintaining Ultra Instinct ensures that it remains a rarely accessed state even for the most accomplished fighters. Fusion techniques provide alternative methods for achieving unprecedented power levels through the combination of 2 fighters into a single being possessing the strengths of both components while transcending their individual limitations. The fusion dance, taught by Goku after learning it from the Metamorans, requires perfect synchronization between participants who must match their power levels and execute the complex choreography without error. The resulting fusion lasts only 30 minutes, but creates a warrior whose power far exceeds the simple addition of the original fighter's abilities, with personality traits and fighting techniques blending to create unique combat styles and strategic approaches. Potara Fusion, utilizing the sacred earrings worn by Supreme Kais, creates more powerful and longer-lasting fusions than the dance technique, though the irreversible nature of Potara Fusion was believed to make it a permanent commitment. The fusion of Goku and Vegeta into Vegito demonstrated the incredible potential of this technique, creating a warrior capable of toying with Super Buu despite the Pink Majin's absorption of multiple powerful fighters. The later revelation that Potara Fusion is temporary for mortals, lasting only 1 hour, removed some of the technique's dramatic weight, while making it more practically viable for emergency situations. The energy-based attacks that define Dragon Ball's combat system range from basic ki blasts to universe-threatening techniques that can destroy entire solar systems with a single discharge. The Kamehameha Wave, Master Roshi's signature technique that Goku mastered after seeing it performed just once, demonstrates the fundamental principles of ki manipulation through its focus, charging, and release phases. The technique's power scales directly with the user's energy output and emotional state, explaining how the same basic attack can range from destroying rocks to overpowering planet-busting energy beams. The Kamehameha's versatility allows for variations, including rapid-fire versions, one-handed execution, and the ultimate, final Kamehameha that combines multiple fighters' energy into a single devastating attack. Vegeta's Gallic Gun serves as the Saiyan Prince's signature energy attack, channeling his pride and determination into a purple energy beam that rivals the Kamehameha in destructive potential. The technique's royal purple coloring reflects Vegeta's aristocratic heritage, while its charging pose and dramatic name announcement demonstrate his flair for theatrical combat presentations. The Big Bang Attack, Final Flash, and other techniques in Vegeta's arsenal showcase his preference for overwhelming firepower and direct confrontation, contrasting with Goku's more diverse and adaptive fighting style. Piccolo's special beam cannon represents one of the most precise energy attacks in the series, requiring extended charging time in exchange for incredible penetrating power, capable of piercing through multiple opponents or the strongest defensive barriers. The technique's accuracy and focused nature reflect Piccolo's strategic mind and his preference for decisive, calculated strikes over extended energy exchanges. The Makan Kosapo's ability to kill enemies far more powerful than its user, as demonstrated against Raditz, establishes it as one of the most dangerous techniques in the series when properly executed. The Spirit Bomb technique embodies the philosophical heart of Dragon Ball's power system by gathering energy from all living things and focusing it into an attack that becomes more powerful when used against evil opponents. Goku's mastery of this technique required him to achieve a state of perfect mental clarity and selflessness, as any trace of malice or personal ambition would prevent the energy gathering process from working. The Spirit Bomb's effectiveness against evil beings, while being harmless to pure-hearted individuals, makes it the ultimate expression of the universe's moral balance, turning the life force of entire worlds against those who would destroy them. Training methods throughout Dragon Ball emphasize the importance of pushing beyond perceived limitations while maintaining the discipline necessary to control increased power responsibly. The weighted clothing worn by Goku, Piccolo, and other fighters serves both practical and symbolic purposes, with the removal of training weights providing immediate power boosts while representing the casting off of self-imposed limitations. The progression from Master Roshi's basic conditioning exercises to the intense gravity training chambers used by elite fighters shows how training intensity must scale with the fighter's developing abilities, requiring constant innovation to continue promoting growth. The hyperbolic time chamber, or room of spirit and time, represents the ultimate training environment, by providing a full year of training time within a single day of real-world time, while subjecting occupants to intense environmental conditions that push their physical and mental endurance to the breaking point. The chamber's harsh conditions, including extreme temperatures, thin air, and disorienting spatial effects, force fighters to adapt rapidly, while the time dilation allows for extended training sessions that would be impossible under normal circumstances. The limitation of only 2 visits per person prevents the chamber from becoming an overpowered solution to every crisis, while maintaining its status as a last resort for desperate situations. Gravity training, pioneered by Dr. Brief's gravity machine and perfected in the training chambers of various spaceships and facilities, forces fighters to adapt to increased physical stress that strengthens every aspect of their bodies, while teaching them to conserve energy and move efficiently under adverse conditions. Vegeta's dedication to extreme gravity training, eventually reaching levels hundreds of times Earth's normal gravity, demonstrates how Saiyan physiology can adapt to incredible environmental pressures when properly motivated. The mental discipline required to function effectively under such conditions translates directly to improved performance in high-stress combat situations. Meditation and mental training play equally important roles in power development, with techniques like the Kaioken requiring perfect emotional control to prevent the technique from destroying the user's body. Kinkai's teaching methods emphasize harmony with natural forces and the importance of fighting for others rather than personal glory. Philosophical lessons that prove just as valuable as the physical techniques he imparts. The Ultra Instinct state represents the ultimate expression of mental training, requiring the complete suppression of conscious thought during combat to achieve perfect reactive fighting. The power scaling evolution throughout Dragon Ball reflects both the escalating threats faced by Earth's defenders and their deepening understanding of the universe's fundamental forces. Early battles focused on technique and strategy, with power differences measured in hundreds or thousands of units, while later conflicts involve fighters whose casual attacks can destroy planets and whose full power threatens entire universes. This progression from street-level martial arts to cosmic-scale battles required constant reevaluation of what constitutes meaningful power differences and how to maintain dramatic tension when characters can casually perform feats that gods might envy. The concept of limiting factors becomes crucial in maintaining balance within such an extreme power system, with techniques like Ultra Instinct and Super Saiyan 3 carrying severe drawbacks that prevent their casual use despite their incredible effectiveness. Energy consumption, physical strain, time limits, and emotional requirements create strategic considerations that keep battles interesting even when characters possess seemingly unlimited power. The introduction of Divine Ki and Angel-level techniques provides new scaling benchmarks, while suggesting that there are always higher levels of mastery available to those willing to pursue them with sufficient dedication and proper guidance. The creation of Dragon Ball as an animated series required the collaboration of hundreds of talented individuals working behind the scenes to transform Akira Toriyama's static manga panels into dynamic, moving entertainment that would captivate audiences worldwide. The production process began at Toei Animation, a studio already renowned for its work on classic anime series, where teams of animators, directors, and producers faced the unique challenge of adapting a work that was still being written and published concurrently with the anime's production. This simultaneous creation process meant that the animation staff often had to create original content to fill gaps in the story, or extend scenes to prevent the anime from overtaking the manga's publication schedule, leading to the development of filler episodes and extended battle sequences that would become characteristic of Dragon Ball's animated adaptations. The animation production pipeline for Dragon Ball involved multiple stages of development, from initial storyboarding and character design sheets to the final coloring and sound integration that brought each episode to life. Key animators were responsible for drawing the most important frames of character movement and facial expressions, while in-between animators filled in the intermediate frames needed to create smooth motion sequences. The intense action sequences that defined Dragon Ball's combat scenes required specialized techniques for depicting speed lines, impact effects, and energy blasts that would become standard practices throughout the anime industry. The animation staff had to develop new methods for showing characters moving faster than the eye could see while maintaining visual clarity and dramatic impact. Akira Toriyama's involvement in the anime production extended far beyond providing the source material, as he regularly consulted with the animation staff on character designs, color schemes, and story elements that weren't fully detailed in the manga. His input was particularly valuable for establishing the visual continuity between different transformations and ensuring that animated versions of his characters maintained their essential personality traits through movement and gesture. Toriyama's legendary forgetfulness occasionally created challenges for the animation team, who would discover that he had forgotten important details about characters or plot elements, forcing them to make creative decisions that would later become accepted canon within the broader Dragon Ball universe. The creative process behind Dragon Ball's anime adaptation revealed the collaborative nature of successful animation production, with directors, storyboard artists, and key animators all contributing to the final vision that audiences would see on screen. The anime's directors had to balance faithfulness to the original manga with the needs of television pacing and the practical limitations of animation budgets and schedules. This balancing act resulted in creative solutions, such as extending battle sequences through repeated animation cycles, internal monologues that provided character development while conserving animation resources, and the strategic use of still frames during moments of high tension or dramatic revelation. Editorial influences on Dragon Ball's development came not just from manga publishers, but also from television executives and sponsors who had their own ideas about what would make the series more commercially successful or broadly appealing to different demographic groups. The pressure to maintain high television ratings led to decisions about pacing, character focus, and story elements that sometimes conflicted with Toriyama's original vision, but ultimately contributed to the series' mass market appeal. The input from toy manufacturers and merchandise partners also influenced character designs, and the introduction of new transformations or equipment that could be translated into successful product lines, creating a feedback loop between commercial considerations and creative storytelling. The music composition for Dragon Ball played a crucial role in establishing the emotional tone and epic scope that defined the series' most memorable moments, with composers creating themes that would become inseparable from fans' memories of their favorite characters and scenes. The original Japanese soundtrack, composed by Shunsuke Kikuchi, featured sweeping orchestral arrangements that emphasized the grand scale of cosmic battles while incorporating traditional Japanese instruments for more intimate character moments. The music's ability to shift seamlessly between lighthearted adventure themes and intense battle compositions helped establish the emotional rhythm that kept audiences engaged through hundreds of episodes of varying content. Pacing. The process of creating music for Dragon Ball required composers to work closely with episode directors and sound engineers to ensure that musical cues enhanced rather than distracted from the action on screen. The development of character themes allowed viewers to immediately identify which fighters were gaining advantage during complex battle sequences, while location-specific music helped establish the diverse worlds and environments that characters visited throughout their adventures. The integration of sound effects with musical compositions created layered audio experiences where the impact of punches, the charging of energy attacks, and the roar of transformations became rhythmic elements that complemented the underlying score. International dubbing of Dragon Ball presented unique challenges that went far beyond simple translation, as voice actors and directors in different countries had to capture the essence of characters whose personalities were deeply rooted in Japanese cultural contexts and linguistic nuances. The English dubbing process, handled primarily by Funimation, required extensive adaptation of dialogue to match lip-sync requirements while maintaining the emotional content and character relationships that drove the story forward. Voice actors like Sean Schimmel and Christopher Sabat had to develop their own interpretations of iconic characters, while remaining true to the fundamental personality traits that made those characters beloved by international audiences. The casting process for English voice actors involved finding performers who could not only match the vocal characteristics of the original Japanese performances, but also bring their own cultural understanding and emotional depth to roles that would span decades of production. The physical demands of voicing Dragon Ball characters proved unexpectedly challenging, with actors frequently straining their voices during the extended screaming sequences that accompanied power-up transformations and intense battle scenes. Sean Schimmel's admission that he had fainted from the exertion of screaming during Super Saiyan transformations highlighted the unexpected physical requirements of anime voice acting and the dedication required to maintain consistent character portrayals across hundreds of recording sessions. Censorship and localization changes made during Dragon Ball's international distribution reflected the different cultural standards and broadcasting regulations that governed children's television in various countries. leading to modifications that sometimes significantly altered the viewing experience from the original Japanese version. Violence was toned down or removed entirely in many Western broadcasts, with scenes of character deaths being edited to suggest injury or disappearance rather than actual mortality. The complex mythology and religious references that appeared throughout the series required careful adaptation to avoid offending religious sensibilities in different cultural contexts, leading to character name changes and dialogue modifications that sometimes created confusion about plot elements and character relationships. The production schedules that governed Dragon Ball's creation were notoriously demanding, with animation teams working under tight deadlines to produce weekly episodes while maintaining the quality standards expected by fans and broadcasters. The pressure to meet broadcast schedules occasionally resulted in animation shortcuts, recycled footage, and simplified character designs that became noticeable to dedicated viewers who watched episodes closely. The most challenging production periods occurred when the anime began to catch up with the manga's publication schedule, forcing writers and animators to create original content that would buy time for Toriyama to develop new story material without contradicting established canon or character development. Animation quality variations throughout Dragon Ball's long production run reflected changes in staff, budget allocations, and the evolving standards of television animation during different time periods. Episodes produced during peak popularity periods often featured higher animation budgets and more detailed character designs, while transitional periods between major story arcs sometimes showed evidence of resource conservation through simpler backgrounds and reduced character movement. The dedication of key animators and directors ensured that the most important story moments received appropriate attention and resources, even when overall production constraints limited the visual quality of less crucial scenes. The influence of fan feedback on Dragon Ball's production became increasingly important as the series gained international popularity and producers recognized the commercial value of maintaining audience satisfaction and engagement. Fan polls conducted in manga magazines influenced decisions about which characters would receive focus in upcoming storylines, while negative reactions to certain story developments sometimes led to course corrections or the introduction of elements specifically designed to address fan concerns. The relationship between creators and audience became more complex as the series evolved from a domestic Japanese production to a global entertainment phenomenon with stakeholders in multiple countries and cultures. Behind-the-scenes stories from Dragon Ball's production revealed the human elements that contributed to the series' success, including the dedication of staff members who worked long hours under difficult conditions to meet the demands of weekly television production. The camaraderie among voice actors, animators, and other production staff created a collaborative environment where creative ideas could flourish despite the commercial pressures and tight deadlines that governed the industry. Personal relationships formed during Dragon Ball's production often lasted for decades, with cast and crew members maintaining connections that extended far beyond their professional obligations to the series. The technical innovations developed during Dragon Ball's production influenced animation techniques throughout the industry, with new methods for depicting energy effects, high-speed combat, and dramatic transformations, becoming standard practices for action-oriented anime series. The series' success demonstrated the commercial viability of long-form storytelling in animated television, encouraging other studios to invest in extended narrative arcs and character development rather than focusing exclusively on episodic content. The integration of merchandise tie-ins with story elements showed how commercial considerations could be balanced with creative integrity when handled thoughtfully by experienced production teams. The evolution of animation technology during Dragon Ball's multi-decade production run allowed for improvements in visual quality, sound integration, and special effects that enhanced the viewing experience, while maintaining the essential character and tone that had made the series successful. The transition from traditional cell animation to digital production methods created new possibilities for complex visual effects, while requiring adaptation from animators who had spent years perfecting traditional techniques. The preservation and restoration of original animation materials became increasingly important as the series gained historical significance within the anime industry and popular culture more broadly. Legacy considerations began influencing Dragon Ball's production decisions as the series established itself as a cultural touchstone that would be remembered and analyzed for generations to come. The responsibility of maintaining quality standards and respecting the creative vision that had made the series beloved became a driving force for production staff who understood their role in preserving an important piece of entertainment history. The balance between honoring established traditions and embracing new creative possibilities continues to influence Dragon Ball productions, ensuring that future generations will be able to experience the magic that has captivated audiences for more than 3 decades. The cultural impact of Dragon Ball extends far beyond its origins as a Japanese manga series, transforming into a global phenomenon that has influenced entertainment, popular culture, and entire generations of creators across multiple decades and continents. When Dragon Ball first began airing internationally in the 1990s, few could have predicted that this story of a monkey-tailed boy searching for magical orbs would become one of the most recognizable and influential franchises in entertainment history. The series arrived at a crucial moment when global communications and media distribution were expanding rapidly, allowing it to reach audiences who had never been exposed to anime or manga culture, and creating a bridge between Eastern and Western storytelling traditions that would reshape the entertainment landscape permanently. The phenomenon of Dragon Ball's international success demonstrates how compelling characters and universal themes can transcend cultural boundaries when presented with sufficient passion and authenticity. The series' core messages about friendship, perseverance, and self-improvement resonated with audiences regardless of their cultural background, while the spectacular battles and transformations provided visual excitement that required no translation to understand and appreciate. Children and adults around the world found themselves invested in Goku's journey from innocent country boy to universe-saving hero, creating shared cultural experiences that connected people across geographical and linguistic divides in ways that traditional media had rarely achieved. The influence of Dragon Ball on subsequent anime and manga creators cannot be overstated, with countless artists and writers citing the series as their primary inspiration for pursuing careers in entertainment. Eiichiro Oda, creator of One Piece, has repeatedly acknowledged Dragon Ball's influence on his work, particularly in terms of character design, action choreography, and the balance between serious adventure and comedic relief that defines successful long-form storytelling. Masashi Kishimoto's Naruto draws heavily from Dragon Ball's template of a young hero with hidden power who must train extensively to protect his friends and village, while incorporating unique elements that prevent the work from being merely derivative. These creators, along with many others, have built upon Dragon Ball's foundation while adding their own innovations, creating a lineage of influence that continues to shape new generations of manga and anime. The visual language established by Dragon Ball has become so fundamental to action, anime, and manga that many of its innovations are now taken for granted as standard industry practices. The way Toriyama depicted speed lines, energy, auras, and impact effects created a vocabulary for showing superhuman combat that has been adopted and refined by countless other artists. The concept of characters powering up through dramatic transformations marked by visual changes in hair, aura, and facial features has become such a common trope that it appears in works that have no direct connection to Dragon Ball, demonstrating how deeply the series has influenced the medium's visual conventions. Even the pacing and structure of battle sequences, with their rhythm of build-up, clash, and resolution, can be traced back to patterns established in Dragon Ball's most memorable fights. The meme culture that has grown around Dragon Ball represents a unique form of cultural impact that extends the series' influence into digital spaces and contemporary communication patterns. The phrase, "It's over 9,000, has achieved such widespread recognition that it's used by people who have never watched Dragon Ball, becoming a general expression for describing anything that exceeds expected limits or boundaries. Internet communities have embraced Dragon Ball characters and concepts as shorthand for discussions about power, determination, and achievement, with Goku's constant desire to become stronger serving as a metaphor for personal improvement that resonates across various contexts and communities. The transformation sequences that defined Saiyan evolution have become templates for describing any kind of dramatic personal change or achievement. The commercial success of Dragon Ball merchandise created new models for how entertainment properties could be monetized across multiple product categories while maintaining brand integrity and fan engagement. The franchise's toys, clothing, video games, and collectibles have generated billions of dollars in revenue while serving as additional touchpoints that keep fans connected to the series, even during periods when new content isn't being produced. The success of Dragon Ball's merchandising strategy influenced how other entertainment properties approach product development, demonstrating that fans are willing to invest significant money in high-quality items that allow them to express their connection to beloved characters and stories. Dragon Ball's video game adaptations have played a crucial role in extending the series' cultural reach by allowing fans to actively participate in the battles and transformations that define the franchise's appeal. Early games like the Dragon Ball Z Budokai series provided the first opportunities for players to control their favorite characters and experience iconic battles from their own perspective, creating new forms of engagement that complemented, rather than replaced, the passive consumption of anime and manga. The evolution of Dragon Ball video games has paralleled advances in gaming technology, with each generation of hardware allowing for more faithful recreations of the series' spectacular battles and dramatic moments. The recent success of Dragon Ball FighterZ demonstrated that there remains strong demand for high-quality Dragon Ball gaming experiences that capture the visual style and tactical depth of the source material. Theme park attractions and exhibitions based on Dragon Ball have created physical spaces where fans can immerse themselves in the series' world while sharing their enthusiasm with other admirers of the franchise. The Dragon Ball theme park areas in Japan attract visitors from around the world who want to experience rides, attractions, and interactive exhibits that bring the series' most memorable locations and characters to life. These physical manifestations of Dragon Ball's popularity demonstrate how the series has transcended its origins as a two-dimensional entertainment property to become a cultural institution capable of supporting large-scale tourism and experiential entertainment ventures. The academic attention that Dragon Ball has received reflects its recognition as a culturally significant work that merits serious analysis and scholarly examination. Universities around the world have offered courses that examine Dragon Ball's themes, cultural impact, and artistic techniques, treating the series as a legitimate subject for academic inquiry, rather than dismissing it as mere children's entertainment. Scholarly papers have analyzed everything from Dragon Ball's representation of masculinity and violence, to its role in introducing international audiences to Japanese cultural values and storytelling technique. This academic recognition has helped elevate anime and manga as art forms worthy of serious, critical attention, while providing frameworks for understanding how popular entertainment can shape cultural attitudes and behaviors. The generational aspect of Dragon Ball's fan base creates a unique dynamic where parents who grew up with the series are now introducing it to their own children, creating shared family experiences that span decades and strengthen the bonds between different age groups. This intergenerational appeal has helped Dragon Ball maintain its relevance and cultural influence, even as entertainment preferences and consumption patterns have changed dramatically since the series first appeared. The fact that Dragon Ball continues to attract new young fans while retaining the loyalty of older viewers demonstrates the timeless quality of its core themes and the universal appeal of its characters and stories. The international conventions and fan gatherings centered around Dragon Ball have created communities where enthusiasts can celebrate their shared passion while participating in activities ranging from cosplay competitions to panel discussions about the series' deeper meanings and cultural significance. These events serve as cultural exchanges where fans from different countries and backgrounds can share their unique perspectives on Dragon Ball while discovering how the series has been interpreted and appreciated in various cultural contexts. The dedication displayed by fans who travel thousands of miles to attend Dragon Ball events demonstrates the profound emotional connections that the series has fostered across its global audience. The influence of Dragon Ball on fashion and style extends beyond official merchandise to include fan-created clothing, accessories, and artistic interpretations that incorporate series elements into contemporary fashion trends. The distinctive visual designs of Dragon Ball characters, from their clothing and accessories to their hairstyles and color schemes, have inspired fashion designers and artists who appreciate the series' bold aesthetic choices and iconic visual elements. This influence can be seen in everything from high-end fashion collections that reference Dragon Ball's visual style to street fashion that incorporates series symbols and character references as expressions of cultural identity and personal taste. The linguistic impact of Dragon Ball includes the introduction of Japanese terms and concepts into international vocabularies, with words like ki, kamehameha, and Saiyan becoming recognizable to people who speak no other Japanese. The series has served as an informal introduction to Japanese culture for millions of international viewers, creating interest in Japanese language, martial arts, and cultural traditions that extends far beyond entertainment consumption. This cultural bridge building function has contributed to increased international appreciation for Japanese culture, while demonstrating how popular entertainment can serve as an effective tool for cross-cultural communication and understanding. The technological innovations inspired by Dragon Ball's popularity have influenced everything from animation techniques to video game design to virtual reality experiences that attempt to recreate the sensation of flying or firing. Energy blasts. The series' imaginative depictions of advanced technology, from scouters and gravity machines to time machines and healing chambers, have inspired real-world inventors and engineers who grew up dreaming of bringing Dragon Ball's fictional technologies to life. While true energy manipulation remains impossible, the series has motivated research into related fields such as motion sensing, augmented reality, and human performance enhancement that reflect Dragon Ball's influence on scientific and technological development. The psychological impact of Dragon Ball's themes of perseverance and self-improvement has provided inspiration and motivation for countless individuals facing challenges in their personal and professional lives. The series' consistent message that any obstacle can be overcome through sufficient dedication and training has resonated with audiences dealing with everything from academic struggles to career challenges to personal health issues. While the fantastical elements of Dragon Ball's power progression are obviously fictional, the underlying philosophy of continuous improvement and never giving up has provided genuine value and motivation for fans who apply these principles to their real-world situations and goals. The preservation efforts surrounding Dragon Ball reflect its recognition as an important cultural artifact that deserves protection and maintenance for future generations to study and enjoy. Archives and museums have collected original animation cells, manuscript pages, and production materials to ensure that the creative process behind Dragon Ball remains documented and accessible to researchers and fans. The restoration and remastering of Dragon Ball's various animated series have involved extensive technical work to preserve the visual quality and artistic integrity of the original productions, while making them available through modern distribution platforms and formats. The numerical legacy of Dragon Ball encompasses a staggering array of statistics that demonstrate the sheer scope and enduring popularity of this multimedia franchise across multiple decades of continuous production and distribution. The original Dragon Ball manga ran for 11 years, from 1984 to 1995, producing a total of 519 chapters that were compiled into 42 tankobon volumes, making it one of the longest-running series in Weekly Shonen Jump's history. The manga's circulation figures reached astronomical proportions, with over 300 million copies sold worldwide by 2019, placing it among the best-selling manga series of all time, and establishing a commercial benchmark that few other properties have managed to achieve. These sales figures become even more impressive when considering that they represent only the printed manga versions and don't include digital sales, international translations, or the countless unofficial copies that circulated before strict copyright enforcement became standard practice. The animated adaptations of Dragon Ball have produced an equally impressive catalog of content, beginning with the original Dragon Ball series that aired for 153 episodes, from 1986 to 1989, followed by Dragon Ball Z's 291 episodes that ran from 1989 to 1996. Dragon Ball GT contributed an additional 64 episodes during its 1996 to 1997 run, while Dragon Ball Super added 131 episodes between 2015 and 2018, bringing the total episode count to 639 episodes of televised Dragon Ball animation. This figure doesn't include the numerous television specials, OVAs, and theatrical films that have been produced over the years, with the movie count reaching 21 theatrical releases as of 2022. The sheer volume of animated content represents thousands of hours of production work involving hundreds of animators, voice actors, and other production staff members working across multiple decades. The broadcasting statistics for Dragon Ball reveal the global reach that the series achieved through international distribution deals and localized productions. Dragon Ball Z premiered on Cartoon Network's Toonami programming block in 1998 and became one of the network's most successful programs, regularly attracting over 1 million viewers per episode during its initial run. The series has been broadcast in over 80 countries and translated into more than 40 languages, with some international versions featuring significant localization changes to accommodate different cultural standards and broadcasting regulations. The longevity of Dragon Ball's television presence is demonstrated by the fact that episodes continue to air on various networks around the world more than 30 years after the original series concluded, maintaining consistent audience interest across multiple generations of viewers. The tournament results and competitive statistics that appear throughout Dragon Ball provide fascinating insights into the relative power levels and fighting abilities of the series' extensive cast of characters. Goku's tournament record shows a pattern of near victories followed by dramatic improvements, with his first World Martial Arts Tournament appearance resulting in a runner-up finish to Jackie Chun, who was actually Master Roshi in disguise. His second tournament ended with another second-place finish to Tien Shinhan, establishing a pattern of growth through defeat that would define his character throughout the series. Goku finally achieved victory in the 23rd World Martial Arts Tournament by defeating Piccolo Jr., marking his transition from promising student to master-level fighter. Interestingly, despite his reputation as the world's strongest fighter, Goku has only officially won one World Martial Arts Tournament throughout the entire series. The power level measurements that became famous through the early Dragon Ball Z episodes provide specific numerical data about character strength that fans have analyzed extensively over the decades. Raditz's arrival on Earth established the Scouter system with his power level of 1/500, while Goku's power level of 334 in his weighted training clothes demonstrated the massive gap between ordinary humans and even relatively weak Saiyans. The exponential growth in power levels throughout the Saiyan and Frieza sagas reached peaks that the series eventually abandoned as meaningless, with Frieza's maximum power level of 120 million, representing numbers so large that they lost all practical significance for storytelling purposes. The decision to move away from specific power level measurements reflected the series' evolution toward more nuanced approaches to depicting relative strength differences. Character age statistics throughout Dragon Ball reveal interesting patterns about the series' timeline and the aging process of its various characters. Goku ages from approximately 12 years old at the series' beginning to 44 years old by the end of Dragon Ball Super, though his multiple deaths and revivals complicate the calculation of his actual lived experience. Vegeta is 5 years older than Goku, making him 49 by Dragon Ball Super's conclusion, while his extended space travel and time in different gravitational fields may have affected his aging process in ways that aren't explicitly addressed in the series. Master Roshi's age of over 300 years, maintained through consumption of an immortality elixir, makes him the oldest human character in the series and provides perspective on the relative youth of even the most experienced mortal fighters. The physical measurements of Dragon Ball characters have been documented with surprising precision, providing specific data about heights, weights, and other physical characteristics that help establish the scale and proportions of the series' diverse cast. Piccolo stands as the tallest Z-fighter at 7 feet 5 inches, while his Namekian physiology explains his impressive height and distinctive proportions. Goku's height of 5 feet 9 inches makes him relatively average by human standards, though his compact build and efficient muscle development give him a physical presence that seems larger than his actual dimensions would suggest. The dramatic size differences between characters like Krillin, who stands only 5 feet tall, and massive opponents like Nappa create visual contrasts that emphasize the importance of technique and key manipulation over pure physical size. The technical production statistics behind Dragon Ball's animation reveal the massive amount of work required to create the series' distinctive visual style and fluid action sequences. A typical Dragon Ball Z episode required approximately 12 individual animation drawings, with complex battle sequences sometimes requiring up to 20 drawings to achieve the smooth motion and detailed character expressions that fans expected. The production timeline for each episode involved approximately 6 weeks of work, from initial storyboarding to final broadcast, with multiple animation teams working simultaneously on different episodes to maintain the weekly broadcast schedule. The total number of individual drawings created for the entire Dragon Ball animated franchise likely exceeds several million individual pieces of artwork, representing an unprecedented achievement in hand-drawn animation production. The voice acting statistics for Dragon Ball demonstrate the remarkable consistency and dedication of the performers who brought these characters to life across multiple decades of production. Masako Nozawa has voiced Goku in Japanese for over 35 years, making her one of the longest-serving voice actors for a single character in animation history. Her additional roles as Gohan and Goten mean that she has performed in virtually every episode of every Dragon Ball series, creating a continuous vocal thread that connects all eras of the franchise. The English voice cast has shown similar dedication, with Sean Schemmel voicing Goku for over 20 years, and Christopher Sabat handling multiple major roles, including Vegeta and Piccolo, for similar periods. The merchandise sales figures for Dragon Ball products reveal the commercial impact of the franchise beyond its entertainment value, with toy sales alone generating billions of dollars in revenue across multiple decades. The Dragon Ball trading card game has sold over 15 billion individual cards since its launch, making it one of the most successful collectible card games in history. Video game sales have been equally impressive, with the Dragon Ball gaming franchise selling over 50 million copies across all platforms and generations of hardware. The breadth of Dragon Ball merchandise extends far beyond traditional toys and games to include clothing, household items, food products, and even automobiles featuring Dragon Ball themes and character designs. The attendance figures for Dragon Ball related events and exhibitions demonstrate the series' ability to draw massive crowds of enthusiastic fans willing to travel significant distances to celebrate their shared passion. The Dragon Ball World Adventure Exhibition Tour attracted over 2 million visitors across its various international locations, while Dragon Ball-themed sections of anime conventions regularly draw some of the largest crowds at these events. The Dragon Ball theme park attractions in Japan have welcomed millions of visitors since their opening, with some attractions maintaining wait times of several hours during peak seasons due to consistently high demand. The translation statistics for Dragon Ball reveal the massive undertaking required to make the series accessible to international audiences, with the manga alone requiring translation into over 40 different languages. The complexity of translating Dragon Ball's wordplay, cultural references, and onomatopoeia has created unique challenges for translators working in different linguistic and cultural contexts. Some translations have become cultural phenomena in their own right, with certain localized character names and attack names becoming more familiar to international audiences than the original Japanese versions. The streaming and digital distribution numbers for Dragon Ball content show how the series has successfully adapted to changing media consumption patterns, with Dragon Ball episodes consistently ranking among the most watched anime content on major streaming platforms. The series maintains strong viewership numbers decades after its original broadcast, demonstrating that its appeal transcends generational boundaries and continues to attract new fans alongside longtime enthusiasts. Digital sales of Dragon Ball manga have reached millions of copies across various platforms, proving that the series' commercial viability extends well into the digital age. The competitive gaming statistics for Dragon Ball fighting games reveal another dimension of the franchise's cultural impact, with tournaments and competitive events drawing participants and viewers from around the world. Dragon Ball FighterZ tournaments have featured prize pools exceeding 50 and attracted viewership numbers that rival traditional sports broadcasts, demonstrating the series' relevance in contemporary esports culture. The technical complexity and strategic depth of these games have created competitive communities that analyze frame data, combo possibilities, and tournament statistics with the same intensity that traditional sports fans bring to their favorite teams and players. The academic citation statistics show that Dragon Ball has been referenced in hundreds of scholarly papers, books, and research studies examining topics ranging from Japanese cultural export to the psychology of heroic narratives. Universities around the world have incorporated Dragon Ball into curricula covering media studies, Japanese culture, and animation history, treating the series as a legitimate subject for serious academic inquiry. The growing body of scholarly work devoted to Dragon Ball analysis demonstrates the series' recognition as a culturally significant work that merits professional research and critical examination. The preservation statistics for Dragon Ball materials reveal ongoing efforts to maintain the series' legacy for future generations, with archives containing thousands of original animation cells, character designs, and production materials. The restoration work required to remaster Dragon Ball's various animated series for modern distribution formats has involved frame-by-frame digital enhancement of thousands of hours of footage, ensuring that the visual quality meets contemporary standards while preserving the artistic integrity of the original productions. These preservation efforts represent significant investments in maintaining Dragon Ball's cultural legacy and ensuring its continued availability for future audiences to discover and appreciate. The modern era of Dragon Ball represents both a continuation of beloved traditions and a bold embrace of new storytelling possibilities that reflect the changing landscape of entertainment in the 21st century. Dragon Ball Super, which premiered in 2015 after an 18-year hiatus in television animation, marked the return of Akira Toriyama to active involvement in Dragon Ball's development, while introducing concepts and characters that expanded the series' scope to truly universal proportions. The decision to create new Dragon Ball content came after the overwhelming success of Battle of Gods and Resurrection F demonstrated that global audiences remained hungry for fresh adventures featuring Goku and his companions, proving that the franchise's appeal had not diminished during its extended absence from television screens worldwide. The production approach for Dragon Ball Super reflected lessons learned from previous series while incorporating modern animation techniques and storytelling methods that could appeal to both longtime fans and newcomers discovering the franchise for the first time. The simultaneous development of anime and manga versions allowed for creative experimentation and cross-pollination between different media formats, with each version exploring slightly different approaches to the same basic story elements. This parallel development process created opportunities for fans to experience familiar events from multiple perspectives while generating discussions and comparisons that extended the series' cultural impact beyond passive consumption into active community engagement and analysis. The introduction of multiverse concepts in Dragon Ball Super fundamentally changed the series' scope from a single universe adventure story to a cosmic epic involving 12 distinct universes, each with their own gods, mortals, and unique characteristics that reflected different approaches to existence and development. The Tournament of Power saga brought together fighters from multiple universes in a competition where losing meant complete erasure from existence, raising the stakes beyond anything previously imagined in Dragon Ball, while providing opportunities to showcase diverse fighting styles, character designs, and philosophical approaches to combat and cooperation. This expansion of the Dragon Ball universe created virtually unlimited potential for future storytelling, while maintaining the personal relationships and character development that had always been the series' emotional core. The technological integration that defines modern Dragon Ball content reflects the franchise's adaptation to contemporary media consumption patterns and the expectations of audiences accustomed to high-quality animation, sophisticated sound design, and seamless integration across multiple platforms and devices. Mobile gaming has become a significant component of Dragon Ball's modern presence, with games like Dragon Ball Z, Dokkan Battle, and Dragon Ball Legends generating hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue, while providing daily interaction opportunities for fans who want to engage with the franchise beyond watching episodes or reading manga chapters. These mobile experiences have created new forms of Dragon Ball storytelling that incorporate original characters, alternative timeline scenarios, and collaborative gameplay elements that extend the series' narrative possibilities in directions that would be impossible in traditional media formats. The streaming revolution has fundamentally changed how Dragon Ball content reaches audiences around the world, with platforms like Crunchyroll, Funimation Now, and others providing instant access to both classic episodes and new content, without the geographic restrictions that once limited international distribution. The availability of subtitled episodes simultaneously with their Japanese broadcast has created global communities of fans who can discuss new developments in real time, sharing reactions and theories across social media platforms and fan communities that span multiple continents and languages. This immediate accessibility has also raised expectations for translation quality and cultural sensitivity, as fans now have the ability to compare different versions and interpretations of the same content almost instantaneously. The merchandise evolution in Dragon Ball's modern era reflects both advances in manufacturing technology and deeper understanding of fan preferences developed through decades of market research and community feedback. Premium collectibles targeting adult collectors have become increasingly sophisticated, with companies producing highly detailed figures, replica props, and limited edition items that can cost hundreds or even thousands of dollars, while maintaining waiting lists of eager purchasers. The integration of digital elements into physical merchandise, such as figures that interact with mobile apps or collectible cards that unlock digital content, represents the blending of traditional collecting with modern technology in ways that create new value propositions for dedicated fans. The fan community's role in shaping modern Dragon Ball content has become more direct and influential than ever before, with social media platforms providing immediate feedback channels that creators and producers monitor closely for reactions to new episodes, character developments, and story directions. Fan-created content, including artwork, animation, music, and even full-length episodes, has reached professional quality levels that sometimes rival official productions, creating an ecosystem of creativity that extends the Dragon Ball universe in directions that official creators might never explore. The recognition and sometimes incorporation of fan contributions into official products demonstrates how the relationship between creators and audience has evolved into a more collaborative model that benefits from community input and engagement. The convention circuit has become a crucial component of Dragon Ball's modern cultural presence, with major anime conventions featuring Dragon Ball guests, premieres, and special events that create shared experiences for fans who travel from around the world to participate in celebrations of their favorite series. The cosplay community has embraced Dragon Ball characters with particular enthusiasm, with conventions regularly featuring impressive recreations of iconic outfits, transformations, and even group performances that bring memorable scenes to life through collaborative effort and creative interpretation. These live events provide opportunities for fans to connect with each other and with the creators, voice actors, and other professionals who contribute to the franchise's ongoing development. The educational applications of Dragon Ball content have expanded beyond informal cultural exchange to include formal curricula in Japanese language schools, cultural studies programs, and animation courses that use the series as a case study in successful international media distribution and adaptation. The series' consistent themes of self-improvement, friendship, and perseverance have made it a valuable tool for educators who want to engage students with familiar characters while exploring deeper concepts about motivation, goal setting, and cross-cultural communication. The availability of Dragon Ball content in multiple languages and cultural contexts provides rich material for comparative studies that examine how the same basic story elements can be interpreted and adapted for different audiences while maintaining their essential appeal and effectiveness. The preservation efforts surrounding Dragon Ball's legacy have become increasingly sophisticated and comprehensive, with multiple organizations and institutions working to ensure that original materials, production documents, and cultural artifacts related to the series remain accessible for future researchers and fans. Digital archives are being created to store and organize the massive amounts of content, commentary, and analysis that have been generated around Dragon Ball over multiple decades, while restoration projects work to improve the quality of older episodes and materials using modern technology and techniques. These preservation initiatives recognize Dragon Ball's status as a culturally significant work that deserves careful maintenance and protection for future generations who may want to study its impact and influence. The next generation of creators who grew up with Dragon Ball are now reaching positions where they can influence the franchise's future direction, bringing fresh perspectives while maintaining respect for the elements that made the series beloved in the first place. Young animators, writers, and directors who cite Dragon Ball as their primary inspiration are beginning to contribute to official projects, creating opportunities for the series to evolve and adapt, while preserving its essential character and appeal. The mentorship relationships between veteran Dragon Ball creators and emerging talent ensure continuity of vision, while allowing for innovation and experimentation that can keep the franchise relevant for contemporary audiences. The global expansion of Dragon Ball's reach continues through new distribution partnerships, localization projects, and cultural adaptation initiatives that bring the series to regions and demographics that may not have had access to it previously. The success of Dragon Ball in markets like Latin America, Southeast Asia, and parts of Africa demonstrates the universal appeal of its themes and characters, while highlighting the importance of appropriate localization and cultural sensitivity in international media distribution. These expansion efforts often involve collaboration with local creators, voice actors, and cultural consultants who can ensure that Dragon Ball's essential appeal translates effectively across different linguistic and cultural contexts. The technological innovations being developed for future Dragon Ball projects include virtual reality experiences that could allow fans to participate directly in iconic battles and transformations, augmented reality applications that could bring Dragon Ball characters into real-world environments, and interactive storytelling platforms that could allow audience choices to influence narrative outcomes. While these technologies are still in development stages, the experimentation and planning currently underway suggest that Dragon Ball's future may include forms of engagement and interaction that go far beyond traditional media consumption to create truly immersive experiences that fulfill longtime fan fantasies about participating in the Dragon Ball universe. The legacy planning that now influences Dragon Ball's development reflects recognition that the series has become a cultural institution whose influence and importance extend far beyond its commercial value, requiring careful stewardship to ensure that its positive impact and cultural significance are preserved and enhanced for future generations who will inherit and build upon the foundation that has been established over more than 3 decades of continuous development and refinement. As our journey through the Dragon Ball universe comes to a peaceful end, we've explored over 150 facts spanning creation myths to modern continuations. From Toriyama's initial sketches, inspired by Journey to the West, to today's global entertainment empire, Dragon Ball continues to inspire new generations of fans worldwide. These stories of friendship, perseverance, and endless growth remind us that even the most powerful transformations begin with small steps and dedicated training. Whether you're dreaming of flying on nimbus clouds, gathering the 7 magical orbs, or simply finding your own inner strength, let these tales of adventure carry you into restful sleep. The Dragon Balls may scatter after granting a wish, but the memories and lessons from this incredible universe remain with us always. Sweet dreams, and remember, there's always another level of power waiting to be discovered, both in stories and in life. Until next time, keep that fighting spirit alive, even in your gentlest moments.